Welcome to the 1905 podcast. Joe and I have been going to Stamford Bridge for over 30 years. For the past 3 years, we've been exchanging voice notes on everything from the highs in Porto to the lows of Potter. Each week, this podcast will take you inside our unfiltered thoughts on all things Chelsea, sharing our view from Gate 13 of the Matthew Harding stand. Let's hit the notes. Chelsea's form has us dreaming of a Christmas miracle. Could Chelsea really put together a genuine title challenge? After the win against Brentford, we consider that question and look ahead to our last ever game at Goodison Park, where a win could put Chelsea top of the tree at Christmas. Let's start with our reaction to that win against the Bees.
On a fairly mild Sunday evening in West London, Chelsea and Brentford went at it. And I think overall, it was what I kind of predicted about the game. I thought we wouldn't be brilliant because I think there will come a point over the Christmas period where you just have to get results. And that's a very kind of polished performance in that regard. Chris and I watched the game together, like we said, and I think we just felt after about maybe half an hour, 35 minutes, the game was drifting slightly. Noni had lots of the ball, but wasn't really making them pay. His crosses were either too long or too short or just not finding their target. On the other side, Sancho had limited success. He wasn't really in the game. He wasn't his usual self. I didn't think anyone played particularly badly. It was just one of those matches that never really got going. Nicholas Jackson shot after about 4 or 5 minutes, I think, in the game, at the near post where Flecken turned it over the bar. It was excellent. That could have been a great start for us. And then Cole Palmer, briefly after that, had a shot from just outside the box, which again, Flecken parried over the bar for another corner. But other than that, Chelsea huffed and puffed a little bit in the first half. And I think we were sort of getting ready for a hard-time beer when obviously Cucurella scored his goal. And what a brilliant goal it was. I mean, say Noni, for all his faults in terms of sometimes he doesn't quite pick the right pass at the right time, he's constantly at you and he never gives up. And I think that's what we have to remember. He's very, very young still. And that ball with his left foot to the far post of the on-running Cucurella to finish was just brilliant. And Mark just finished that like a centre forward, didn't he? It was absolutely outstanding to see the left back of all players right up there to contribute. Again, another player contributing to the team and the goal tally, which is so, so important. And you could see that Brentford had they basically played in a low block. There were periods of maybe like 30 seconds of a minute where they kind of broke out of their shell slightly. But overall, they came with 2 banks of 5 and a goalkeeper. And it was working for the most part until Cucurella scored his goal. In the second half, I think we both felt like the second goal is crucial. We all know that, I know. But it was important. You felt as though if Brentford did have a period in the game, and you felt like there would be. We said that amongst ourselves, that they're going to have 10 minutes at some point. So if it's 1-0, they start getting on top of us, we've missed a load of chances, then we are going to rue that. And we did miss chances. There was the one where Nicholas Jackson leant back on the far post where he sort of just hit it low and hard, he skied it over the bar. And on another occasion, Sancho went steaming through, he went around the goalkeeper and you felt like, go on, just finish it with your left foot, and he stopped and he came back and he went around the goalkeeper again. And I just felt, and I said to Chris, I just felt as though we were sort of maybe taking the mickey a little bit. It's almost like we felt as though we could score at any time. And I thought it's a very dangerous game to play that. You need to try and get that second goal as quickly as possible and give Brentford something completely different to think about, because it would have made them change their game plan. Because at 1-0, they didn't care. They weren't bothered one bit at 1-0 because they knew that a set piece, a penalty could happen at any time. And so it proved. Once we did get our second goal through Nicholas Jackson, which was a great finish, lovely ball from Enzo, good way to pass, and Nicholas Jackson fakes to go on his left foot, and he just stands up the centre back and whacks it in at the front post. It was a brilliant finish down our end, and fantastic cheering, and the celebration from the team was just so nice to see. The way they all celebrated together, you felt as though they needed that. But what an important goal it was, because after that, really, Chelsea didn't do a great deal. And I felt as though we decided that we were happy with what we had, which is fine, completely fine, of course. But when Brentford then suddenly started to up it, and it was about 71, 72 minutes, Damsgaard had that shot where Sanchez tipped it over the bar from the volley. Brilliant save, by the way. And then obviously there's the one where the Brentford winger goes down the right-hand side with the ball in. And I think it was actually Levi Colwill that makes a block when he hit the crossbar and came down. And you're thinking, oh, no, if this goes 2-1 with 20 minutes to go, 18 minutes to go, it's going to be a really long, hard way back. But we did weather that little storm. And I say it wasn't until right near the end where the ball got slipped through to Mbeumo and Tosin. Again, that's just poor. It's poor centre half play. As a last defender, the worst thing you can do is go to ground because suddenly you're completely out of the game. And Colwill was obviously the first man round. The ball had gone past him. So Tosin needs to just stand him up for as long as possible. Even if he's just on his shoulder, the fact that the centre forward would know he was there would make a big difference to Mbeumo. The fact he goes to ground, he makes his job so much easier. And it was a good finish. And then obviously we have the debacle of the last 6 or 7 minutes of injury time where you knew that it would just be Brentford pumping the ball in the box and trying to find that through ball. And if it had finished 2-2, it would have been a real travesty because they offered little. And I hate it when a team comes with a specific game plan, which is quite negative, and they end up getting a good result. So in a way, I'm pleased we held out. Obviously, the Cucurella red card at the end is stupid. I mean, it's really stupid. The yellow card for the tackle, whatever, that's fine, that happens. But the sort of the diving around to try and get the Brentford player sent off, I'm sorry, I'm never going to applaud that. I think it's dreadful. And I'm not sure exactly what the second yellow was for. If it was for dissent or the fact he was having a push and shoving match with the Brentford player, I'm not too sure. But it's meant now that he misses the Everton game, which is a big game for us. And I think Cucurella will be a miss. Vega will probably come in, but you never know. He might play Gusto there and change it with Caicedo on the right back position. You just never know. But I thought overall Chelsea, they fully deserved their win. It was a lot muckier than we'd all hoped. Again, like I said, I knew it might have that feel about it, which it did. But overall, look, we're second on the table. We took advantage of everybody dropping points. And in a season where you feel like there's something happening for us, it would have been a real shame to have dropped points at that specific moment in time, knowing that we've got our bogey team Everton away coming up. And then we've got a good run of fixtures after that. But you never know. You might drop points against Ipswich. You might drop points against Fulham or whatever. Fulham are playing well. But I do think at the moment this Chelsea team has something about them that I said to Chris, I feel as though we're going to go to Everton and really dominate them. I just have a real feeling. I don't think Everton are going to like playing against us, as it proved in the home game last season. We won 5-0. I think there's a performance in someone, Cole Palmer, Jackson and Kunku, someone that is going to have a good game. And I feel as though we're going to run away from Everton at the weekend. But overall, Chris and I had a good night. We had a great night watching the United game beforehand, beating City, of course. And it just meant that we've got a little bit of breathing space coming into Christmas. So, yeah, really happy and really pleased.
Recording this on Monday, the day after the Brentford game, and I just can't stop looking at the league table, which sounds pretty ridiculous, but it's just incredible seeing Chelsea in second, 4 points ahead of third, obviously 2 points behind top, and with the actual real possibility that we could be top on Christmas Day, which is just frankly insane, isn't it? Thinking about what our expectations were, most of us at the start of the season. So it's been incredible. Huge credit to Maresca and the squad for what they're doing and really making you proud to be a Chelsea fan again. And going to the game last night, the thing that really, really stuck out to me, and me and Joe were talking about this straight away, really, was just the feeling when you got to Fulham Broadway. There was just an atmosphere in the air that we haven't felt, until this season for a little while at Chelsea, where there's just a real feel good. And Joe and I got in the ground fairly early and actually had a couple of beers in the ground before, and obviously watching the City United game. And the bar was buzzing. It was a real. There was singing in the bar. Everyone was really upbeat. There was just this real kind of excited feel again about coming to watch Chelsea. And what was really great was obviously when United got back in the game and turned it around. There were genuine cheers in the bar, and we were laughing about it, going, when was the last time that we felt we cared about a City result in anything other than maybe not wanting Liverpool to win the league or whatever? It was like, or Arsenal. It was actually like we actually have a bet on this race at the moment, which is just fun in its own right, really. And just the feel around the ground in the stadium as well. Obviously, the atmosphere wasn't electric, but it had a positive feel. You can really feel that difference, I think, from even, we'll take it back to, say, the City game at the start of the season. There was an air of disgruntlement that was sort of seeping under the surface. It feels completely different now, and I think Maresca has to take a huge amount of credit for that, and obviously the squad as well. In terms of the game itself, obviously Joe spoke a lot about that, and I'd agree with everything. I thought it was one of those where we didn't play brilliantly and had to battle through, and that was great to see. Actually, it was that side of Chelsea that, when we played Villa home last, we were brilliant, and you play a game like that, you play that well, you've got to win the game. But playing not brilliantly, but coming up with the goals at the key times, I thought was really good to see, and it showed a different side of us, and obviously really making sure we ground it out at the end there. I guess the way that we had to grind it out, the sloppy goal we conceded, kind of echoes what Maresca was saying after the game and in the press conference, which I just listened to, where he was again saying, look, he doesn't think we're title contenders yet because we don't quite have the discipline to close out games like that in the right way. And I thought what he said last week was very interesting, because he was talking about, when you have been part of a title winning squad, which he has obviously as a player and at Man City recently as an assistant, you get a feel for there's a feeling of a squad and that we can go and do this, and there's I guess a makeup of that sort of squad, and he doesn't see it in this group. And actually, as a fan, I would echo that. I think we've been fortunate enough as Chelsea fans to see those title winning squads, and you do quite early on actually smell it, don't you? Kind of, whether that's the classic Mourinho teams or Conte's one, once we got on that run, you look around and go, yeah, there's a bite, you've got something like Courtois or checking goal. Yeah, that's a title winning goalkeeper. You've got a defence that looks really difficult to get past, and then you've got those magic men in the forward positions like, Diego Costa, historically, Hazard, of course. And Chelsea probably, to me, have those forward men that you need to win the title. I think Palmer is obviously our superstar, but I think Jackson is a title-winning striker. I really do. And I think he's only going to get better and better and mature into that. And having Nkunku as a backup, I think we have to keep him, because if you don't think Chelsea could win the league this year, which I probably don't, unfortunately, not to put a negative on it, I think we're just short. But next season, I really think we could put a very, very real challenge together. And I think having someone like Nkunku as an option with Jackson, I think is superb. But the obvious area where you still worry is at the back with the goalkeeper and the centre-backs. And I don't want to go into too much detail there, because I think we've talked about it a lot. And actually, Sanchez was excellent yesterday. But there is just that feeling, again, when you watch us, that you just think, oh, yeah, we do look vulnerable at times. And I think I was saying to Joe during the game, looking at Tosin, who didn't have a bad game, but you still felt was a kind of a level drop to Fofana and obviously Cole. And I just thought, I wonder if Chelsea did any business in January, that might be the one area they look at centre-back and think, with obviously the injury to Fofana and who else knows what else is going on there, I wonder if that would be the one area they might look. But equally, I wouldn't be surprised if we kept our powder dry until the summer on that one. But overall, it's an incredible position Chelsea have got themselves into. I think as fans, I'm really, really keen to just enjoy it and not to put too much pressure on, because, as we've said a few times, it's a great position to be in, where we are unexpectedly in this position and don't have the pressure of Liverpool that now have that, and Arsenal have got it because they've been so close the last couple of years, and obviously City are on the other side of it, really falling and fading at the moment. We're in that really lovely spot where it's all just a bonus, and after 2 or 3 years of not being anywhere near it, really, to suddenly be in this position is just great. And it just means that you're looking forward to every game, aren't you? You're looking at the fixture list thinking what's next and what time of the games and over Christmas, because you just can't wait to watch us play. And I'm going to finish with one final point on that very note, because Cole Palmer, we all know how good he is. And actually against Brentford, he didn't have his best game by any means. But when you watch him in the flesh, those little touches he does, these little moments when he's on the ball, he is just incredible. And the way he can keep the ball under pressure from 3 or 4 men is just incredible, to be honest. And it's once again just an absolute joy to watch him play, and a privilege to be a Chelsea fan right now. We interrupt the show with our first ever ad. Can you believe it? The 1905 podcast has an ad. But we've teamed up with Graphicona, who do amazing football wall art. So I've got a Frank Lampard poster, which is really, really cool. I'm going to put it up in my son's room, who is named Frankie, after the great man himself. And Joe chose a Gianfranco Zola poster. They are absolutely amazing. We've put a link in the show notes to go and check them out for yourself. You can choose classic players like we have, classic teams over the years, and even classic matches and trophies that Chelsea have won. They're really cool, would look amazing on any wall, any man cave, or as a great gift for someone who you know is a Chelsea fan, or even a fan of the opposition, because they have lots of different teams on there. So check it out, graphicona.com, and as I said, link in the show notes. Cheers.
Well, I don't know about anybody else, but I, for one, will be pleased to see the back of Goodison Park. It's been a ground where we've always suffered. We have had some victories there, and I've been fortunate enough to see some, but overall, it's been a fairly miserable hunting ground for us. And usually when Everton have been at their complete worst, and I don't know why. Maybe because it's a raucous ground, it's quite tight. It feels like if you just reach out as a player, you can probably touch the away supporters. Everyone's a bit on top of you, and it's a ground that we have suffered with. And the Dell was also a ground that a lot of teams used to hate going to. Southampton's old ground, of course. So yeah, I will be really pleased to get our last match away and done and dusted, and the new stadium hopefully won't be quite as daunting. As for the game itself, I think that Chelsea are in a good place. I don't want to become complacent on here. I don't want to sort of say every week from now on that we're going to win every game and no one's a threat, because they are. And Everton have got some players that can cause us some issues. But I do feel as though this is a game that we should be looking to win and win well. Having gone to Spurs recently and beaten them, from a 2-0 down position, I feel like we should have all the confidence that if we do concede a goal early on, and our back four hasn't been brilliant as a defensive, cohesive unit, that we shouldn't panic and we shouldn't worry, because we have got such great attacking talent. And I think that away from home, actually, we're even better. I feel like Enzo, Caicedo, Jackson and Palmer and whoever it might be, they do seem to come alive a bit more in the away games. I'm just not concerned about this game, and maybe that's a fault on myself. And if that rings true at the weekend, then I can only apologise. But the way I feel is that I don't see us taking off the pedal. I don't see Maresca letting us get away with, playing poorly and not running and not trying. They'll go through that Brentford game, and there were some mistakes in it that, things we should have done better, and we didn't. Tosin didn't have his best game against Brentford, I didn't think. And that's an area of the pitch that we need to sort of keep an eye on, because, like I say, he wasn't brilliant on the evening. But I think overall, we've just got too much for Everton. I know they got a very good draw against Arsenal last weekend, and they'll feel buoyed by that. And so that's something we do have to be careful of. I'm not a great lover of Pickford in goal. I think he's averaged, at best, if I'm honest. But he does have good games. And Goodison's a place where he does tend to have them more often than not. I think at Chelsea last year, he had an absolute howler and cost his team the game in some ways. But I think that we should take that 5-0 result we had at the end of last year and use that as fuel to go and get as many goals as we can again this weekend. And I just really feel like this has a game where we're going to go and get maybe 3 goals or more. I don't know why I feel like that, but I do. As for the team, Woodrick's not going to play. He's been found using a banned substance, whether that was through food or substances, we just don't know. And I think we're going to have to wait and find out on that one. But it's not great for him. It's not great for the club. But hopefully it's nothing serious and he can come back stronger. I hate to see him sort of his career ruined. But let's see what's happened first. I think we're going to see a similar side. We might see Caicedo at right back. We could see Gusto at left back, possibly. Maybe Vega might come in and it might keep Gusto in that fullback position. Who knows? But Maresca, you can't second guess him. And he would have looked at the whole team and decided that what's best for the occasion. So we'll have to wait and see on his decision there, because is Lavia fit? Is Felix fit? Neto's obviously going to come back. So there will be a few more options. The goalkeeper, I think, will stay the same. That won't change. And it's just a case then, will he rotate the forward line? Will he give Nkunku another go up front instead of Jackson, give him a rest potentially? We shall wait and find out. I think there's Chelsea at the moment aren't an open book. You can't really just say who you think is going to play on any given week. So trying to predict a side is almost impossible. I think he will rotate the wingers because I think he likes to do that. I think you will see Neto come back in if he's fit, obviously. And yeah, I just see this has been a very positive result for Chelsea. I'm hoping that I'm not speaking out of turn, but in my opinion, I think we should go there with all the confidence of a team that's second in the league and could go top of the table. And that is something that is absolutely beyond my wildest dreams this season. So let's go, boys.
As always, we hear from a member of the opposition, so we're going to hand over to huge Everton fan Andy Smith for his thoughts on Everton's season so far, their manager, and of course, the game on Sunday. So over to you, Andy, and thanks for being part of the show.
Hi, mate. So, yeah, Everton versus Chelsea. It's a bit of a strange one being an Everton fan at the moment. I don't remember being confident going into any game for the last 4 years, maybe. And, we've got a terrible record in general against the top teams because we're not that good, ultimately. Although, strangely, we do have this very good record against Chelsea at home. Obviously, we've won, I think we might say 5 of the last 6. Last year, we won 2-0 against Pochettino's team, obviously. But that was very much in the early days before he kind of got things up and running, and was in one of our good spells. So we had 2 blocks of positive results last year, and it just happens to fall into one of those. Realistically, though, this year, I don't see that happening. I know we obviously had a very positive result last week at Arsenal in terms of not losing, which is as much as any Evertonian hoped for, really. I think most Evertonians, we kind of, looking ahead at December, we saw Liverpool at home, Arsenal away, Chelsea at home, City away in consecutive games, as if we get a point out of that, we'll be pleased. Obviously, the Liverpool game was postponed, and then the draw last week, slightly nullified by Palace and Ipswich both winning, because our focus is always on the bottom of the table these days. I think it was a bit of an anomaly last week. Arsenal were by far and away the better team, but we do have an extremely good goalkeeper in Jordan Pickford, who kind of kept us in it, really. I think, realistically, we're reliant on the passion of the home crowd getting the team going, nicking the odd goal and hoping to defend resolutely. And Pickford has another one of those games. The start of this season, we were shipping goals left, right and centre, which is unlike Dyche, obviously. But Braithwaite's now back and playing, and there is a slight doubt for this weekend, which is a big concern for us. He himself isn't playing well, but the team has a better shape and a better feel, and Tarkowski plays much better with him alongside him, because he's got that confidence in his pace more than anything. It means the team is a little bit more condensed. We push a little bit higher up with him in the team, because he has got that extra yard of pace that Michael Keane clearly doesn't and never has had. And so the team are a little bit closer to each other, and there's fewer gaps. That said, we offer nothing going forward. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, he works hard, he holds the ball up brilliantly, and once in a blue moon, he has one of those games where he wins everything, and he dominates at corners and set pieces, and he'll get the odd goal, and then he'll go 5 or 6 games where he looks anonymous again. He is due one of those games, but it would need to come from a set piece, because his one-on-one finishing has become very poor, and he snatches at chances now. Our backup options are Beto, who again works very hard, very different player in terms of he needs the through balls, but he's just not quite good enough, to be fair, to be honest. And obviously Amanda Brozier, who's come off the bench the last 2 games, has offered us something different and looked sharp, but obviously he's on loan from Chelsea and therefore won't be playing. So I just don't see us getting a goal unless we get something from a set piece. We've been worryingly bad at set pieces until the Wolves game 2 weeks ago, where it all came together, and obviously we won 4-0. And we look dangerous at set pieces again. If we can continue that we might get a goal. But that's I can't see us getting any other opportunities other than set pieces. We didn't get any against Arsenal to threaten from them. So, yeah. But honestly, this weekend, I think the movement of Chelsea, the fluidity up front, I think against a traditional number 9, and 2 wingers, the discipline of the defence and the shape of the team gives us a chance. But I think the fluidity of the Chelsea attack, even without Cucurella, who I think makes a lot of that work by the way he steps in and the way he breaks the lines from fullback, even without him, I think it'll be too much for us on the day. And I think I can see a 2-0 away win, to be honest. In terms of Dyche this year and in general, I think he's done all things considering, he's done a brilliant job. He kept us up first year, and then last season on points won, I think we came 11th. Obviously, we had the deductions, which put us in danger again for a bit. But the squad is good enough. But this year, the squad is good enough to be higher up the table. I think we've only won a couple of games. We've got a lot of draws, but we are a team that is trained specifically to hold defensive shape, and we don't have any attacking patterns other than let's get a decent cross in and hope that someone gets a head on it from a set piece. And I think that shows. I think it's the squad is better going forward than he has got it playing and producing. I think he will probably keep us up this season. I think Leicester are bad enough. I think Southampton will go. And I think Wolves are probably going to be, all told, bad enough, especially with the injuries they've got in defence. And I think Matthias Cunha will probably leave in January. And I think that will leave them in big trouble. Outside of that, I think we'd be struggling even more. But I think we probably will have enough to stay up. And I think it's time that will be it for Dyche. I don't think he's the man to develop the squad and to take it any further forward. I think he is limited, as all Evertonians should be. We're very grateful for the fact he's kept us up this long. But I think realistically that's coming to an end. And we're in an era now with Premier League football where you need to have more attacking options. You need to have more solutions. And that's something Maresca's obviously got. The Chelsea squad is fantastically deep and it's incredibly talented. And, he's got them playing on the front foot. And I think that's the way teams are winning games now, winning and progressing in the league. All the better teams are playing on the front foot. Even in the mid-table, the Fulhams and Brentfords of this world are playing with attacking flexibility and playing on that front foot, which we don't. And while it's probably enough to keep us up, it's not enough for us to develop. Staying up is good enough this year, but it won't be next season. So I think, it'll be thank you and goodbye to Dyche this year if he can keep us up. And I think he probably will, but that will not happen this Sunday, where I see a 2-0 away win.
It's one of those fixtures, isn't it, Everton away, that as a Chelsea fan, you can't help but look at and slightly dread. There are, in recent years, too many bad memories going there, whether that's... I actually think back to when we were actually on a really good run under Frank Lampard, which people forget really in his second season. We were flying high going into Christmas, really doing well. And Everton was one of the games just before Christmas where we lost and everything the wheels really fell off for that Lampard season. And he ended up crazily, we went from top to mid-table within a number of weeks and he was sacked. But then Chelsea went on to win the Champions League, so all was good. It's, as you say, Joe, it's not a ground I'm going to particularly miss. Although, allow me to share a story of maybe my finest moment being a Chelsea fan, which was at Goodison Park. I used to go to a lot more away days, actually, in my younger days. And I would have been, I would have been about 18. It was, the year was 2003. Chelsea had just recently been bought by a certain Roman Abramovich, and we went up to Everton away around November time. That was the team full of the big splurge of that summer. So we had lots of new players like Makaleli, Varane, and a certain Adrian Mutu, who comes into this story. And actually in the papers on the way up there, it was the big back page story that Chelsea were linked to buying Wayne Rooney from Everton, who had just kind of burst on the scene in the last 6 months and was doing really well. And he'd go on to have a brilliant season and then get a big move to Man United. But the big story that day was that Chelsea were going to go in for him either in January or in the summer. And the game, it wasn't a great game at all, actually. Chelsea really huffed and puffed. And we were up there in that little away end. And with about 20 minutes to go, Adrian Mutu scored a really crappy goal, to be fair. It was, I think, a cross on the right. It was half his head, half his hand, I think, the ball went in off. But massive celebrations in the away end. I think Chelsea put us up to second at the time behind what would be the Invincibles Arsenal team. And one of my famous moments was getting a chant going, which is something I always used to try and do, whether it's my own songs or just getting songs going. And I sang a chant, chim chimney, chim chimney, chim chim chiroo. Who needs Wayne Rooney when we've got Mutu? And to my delight, after about the third attempt of getting it going, it took off, and the whole end was bouncing, singing it, and it was a real moment. If anyone's ever got a song going in a ground, it is proper goosebumps moment. It's a really exciting feeling, and obviously the fact that I'd kind of come up with it on the spot, it was based on the old chant we used to sing about West Ham. It was a real buzzy moment, so that was amazing. We sang it a few times, including at the end of the game. He came over, it was a really nice moment. And then what made it even better, we stayed overnight in Liverpool overnight, and in the morning, a bit hungover, worse for wear, we got the Sunday papers out, and literally the first paragraph of the report on the game was the song. So it was Who Needs Wayne Rooney When We've Got Mutu, sang the Chelsea fans in the away end, as you know, Mutu won the game for Chelsea. So it was a real moment. It didn't really catch on that much in the home games. I think it was sung a few times, but obviously part of that was Mutu's own form falling off a cliff. But back to the game on Sunday. It's a tough game, isn't it? And it's a really interesting Sunday, isn't it? Because you've effectively got Chelsea and Liverpool's biggest rivals, arguably, in Everton and Spurs. It's almost in their hands who will be top on Christmas Day. And isn't that just a mad sentence to say Chelsea could be top on Christmas Day? Obviously, if we win and Spurs can even hold Liverpool to a draw at Tottenham, then Chelsea would be top on Christmas Day, which, even whether you think we can win the league or not, would just be an amazing feeling, wouldn't it? Absolutely amazing. So the fact we're in that position is amazing. What do I think about the game? I'm probably not as confident as you, Joe. I don't have a great feeling about it. I've just got that bad feeling that, particularly with the defenders out, we could find ourselves under the cosh, and maybe I'm too worn by the terrible memories at Everton in recent years, but I think it will be tough. It's another one, though, if we can come out of Everton with a win, regardless of what happens in the Liverpool game, then it's another one where you have to go, wow, okay, Chelsea will have really passed a test that maybe even the sceptical among us kind of didn't expect. So, you know, if we can have a really good performance at the back, if Sanchez can have another great game in goal, and obviously attacking boys do their business, then maybe, you know, we'll all have to go into Christmas as real believers. Whatever you believe for your Christmas dreams. But either way, really looking forward to it. Love games around Christmas time, who doesn't? And we will be back after Christmas with lots more content. And for everyone, just a final message from me. Thank you for all of you out there who've been listening since we started the podcast this season. We've really appreciated all the messages on Instagram and an email, which is hello@1905podcast.com. It's amazing to hear you guys are enjoying the pod. And to all of you and your loved ones, Merry Christmas, and here's to a great 2025 supporting Chelsea. Up the Chelsea.
So I've lucked out again this week on the best and worst, because Chelsea-Everton games do tend to be rather good at Goodison Park. We don't always win them. Sometimes there's draws, sometimes we do get beat, but we have had quite a few victories there, and they do tend to be pretty good games. Now, the obvious choice would be when Chelsea went to Goodison and won 6-3, when Diego Costa basically bullied Everton and he was just unplayable that day. Every time he touched the ball, they were getting the hump more and more with him. But I'm going to go on what I felt, and this was a feeling that we had in 2006. We played on our iconic white kit, and I'll never forget that kit. It was really stunning. And it was a comeback win, and comeback wins always feel the best. I don't care who you are. I mean, just take a look at Tottenham last week, the 2-0 down to win 4-3. I mean, you're buzzing for at least a week afterwards. So the game played out with, we started, do you remember Khalid Boularus? He was one of the worst signings we ever made. And he got destroyed against Tottenham when we played them at White Hart Lane, and he got destroyed against Everton. He was awful. He wore the number 9 shirt as well, which really offended me. But in the first half, he basically trips and grabs hold of the Everton centre forward and tries to give away a penalty to the best of his ability, and failed. Mark Howsey waving that one away, only for a couple of minutes later for him to do almost the exact same thing and just dragged and threw the Everton centre forward to the ground, thus giving the Rat, Mikel Arteta, the chance to step up and give Everton the lead, which he coolly did, slow into the bottom left-hand corner. So we were losing, and it was around a time when Chelsea they didn't lose many games, but they weren't playing particularly well, and Jose Mourinho was still manager. And like I say, we weren't playing badly or losing many games, but there was an air of fatigue, a little bit of maybe unrest around the squad, and we just needed a result. And Everton is never usually the place to go and get it. But early in the second half, we got a free kick on the edge where Michael Ballack coolly stepped up and he whips his ball round the wall. Did it a few times. And Tim Howie has a fingertip to it, but he tips it onto the post, and it sort of creeps over the line, across the goal line, across to the post, make it 1-1 to Chelsea. You're thinking, okay, we're going to go on, and secure 3 points here. Only for Everton to get a corner a few minutes later, whipped in, and Joseph Yobo popped up from nowhere, the young Everton centre-back, and nodded home for Everton's second goal to put us 2-1 behind. And you're thinking, oh, here we go again. Bloody Goodison Park, I hate it. But this Chelsea team, they just never stopped. They never gave up. They never gave in. And this is when it got good. There was a pullback from, I think it was Ashley Cole. It might have been Jeremy, but I think it was Ashley Cole actually. Pulls the ball back in the Everton corner area, pulls it back for Lampard, who's maybe 3 or 4 yards outside the 18-yard box on the angle. And he larrups this ball. He cuts across it beautifully, dips, swerves over Howard, who flails back, which makes the goal look even better, into the far right-hand corner, into the top corner. Absolutely beautiful goal on around the 80th minute mark, 81 minutes. You're thinking, okay, right, game on. We've got them now. But with a few minutes to go, you never know. This is Chelsea after all. And around the 87th, 88th minute, Carlo Cudicini picks the ball up and he just sort of hits a half tracker right down the middle of the pitch. Big bounce. Shevchenko takes a nod. He flicks it on. He'd come on as a substitute. And he hits it into Drogba's path, who absolutely larrups this ball from about 35 yards right down the middle, right over Tim Howard. Literally out the middle of the bat. Completely beautiful strike. And that put Chelsea 3-2 ahead with a couple of minutes to go. The game was sort of dribbling out for a draw, but did we absolutely nail it? Brilliant goal, brilliant memories, and I can't wait to rewatch that one again, actually. So for my worst Chelsea-Everton game at Goodison Park, I'm going to choose a match that was in 2019, which was Duncan Ferguson's first ever managerial game, I believe. And, he was about as subtle as a brick when it comes to management. And he managed to outthink us, outfight us. And I just felt really bad on the day. To be a goal down quite early on in the first half, again, the defenders didn't do themselves any justice on the day whatsoever. But, yeah, cross into the middle of the penalty area, nowhere for Zuma or Christensen to be seen. And Richarlison, of all people, nodding home the first goal. And just thinking, oh, here we go. You just had a feeling it was going to be one of these days. And then into the second half, literally, one of the worst goals you'll see from two central defenders. If this was Sunday morning, you would bring them both off. It was that bad. Both of them not talking, not speaking, getting in each other's way, not communicating for the header. and then completely kicking the ball at each other before Calvert-Lewin sneaked in and slid the ball under Kepa to make it 2-0. And you're just thinking, oh no. I mean, we had a few chances before that with Tammy Abraham and a couple of toe pokes towards goal, but didn't quite get the final touch. And you just couldn't see a way back into it for us at that point. We were sort of running around a lot, but not really getting anywhere. We did manage to claw a goal back through Kovacic on the edge of the box, who volleyed home sort of low and hard into the low left-hand corner, which made it 2-1. And you're thinking, well, maybe there's a bit of hope. But with this Chelsea team at the time, you just thought, oh, it's going to happen again. And so it did. And Kante was sort of flying everywhere and not getting very far. One of his poorer games, actually. And again, Aspilicueta and Christensen get themselves in a real muddle for the last goal. And yeah, I just really, really sloppy defending. And yeah, I mean, to be honest, we had a very good, time after that winning the Champions League. I'm well aware, but this was one of those games that Everton, who were in relegation dogfight, managerial crisis, and managed to take our scalp once again. So I'm choosing that as my worst game. There's been a few over the years, I'm sure, but this is one that stuck in my memory as a poor match that we couldn't outmuscle or outfight Duncan Ferguson in the managerial stakes. So that one's going down in the history books for me.
Those were the Chelsea notes for this week. If you enjoyed the podcast, do us a favour and share it with a fellow Blue. And we'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave us a review wherever you're listening. Wherever you may be, stay carefree, and remember, every little thing's gonna be all right.